Okay guys, I think I'm live. Hi, this is Heather. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am just taking a moment to try to get this video to show up on my screen so that I can see your comments. So bear with me a minute, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty today. Facebook makes all these little changes, and then, now it's got me crooked. Okay, so we'll just turn it if we need to. Let's see what we've got going on this way. Okay, well, that's a little better, I think. And it looks like I'm moving you away from me, so let's try this. There we go. Okay, that's way better. So, how is everybody tonight? Let's see, it looks like I've got one person. I had two on for a minute and they probably got lost as I was doing all my weird shuffling. So, oh, I've got two now. Hi, Kimber. Hi, Talina. How are you guys doing tonight? Okay, see, I'm crooked again. Oh, this drives me crazy. Facebook and all its weird changes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started since I'm running a couple minutes late. I do want to share with you a couple of specials I've got going on and a few things that are happening. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around and then we'll get started on some pretty fun cards I've got for you tonight. So hang on just a second, let's get going. Let's see here. Oh, I'm going to have to do my screen this direction again. Oh, I hate that. Okay, so let me move you over a little bit so you can see better at least. How's that working for everybody? Glad to hear that everybody's doing awesome tonight. Move my keyboard out of the way. Oh my goodness, and then I just lost the feed on my computer. So one moment while we pull that back up, and then we can chat a little bit about what's going on. Okay, so few things to remind you about. I do have my Adhesive Essentials Kit that includes Stampin' Seal Plus, multi-purpose liquid glue, Stampin' Dimensionals, mini Stampin' Dimensionals, tear and tape, mini glue dots, a silicone craft sheet, and an adhesive eraser with a zippered pouch to store it all in for $45 plus shipping. And you know, one of the things that occurred to me why I wanted to put out a reminder about this is these would make great Christmas gifts for people. So if you are interested in purchasing this Adhesive Essential Kit or the must-have toolkit that I'm about to talk about, all you need to do is email me, let me know you're interested, and I can send you an invoice for that. Because I piece it together myself and add a few things that aren't necessarily Stampin' Up! Products, you do need to order it via email basically, or a message on Facebook is fine. So because I have the products come to me and I piece them together for you. So the other kit that I have available is the must-have toolkit. It includes a bone folder, paper snips, take your pick tool, a piercing mat, simply chamois, and a zippered pouch for all the tools. For those of you who maybe are new to me, the reason I put these kits together is because these two kits, these two products are all the things that when I set out to stamp every day, any day, these are the things I get out and I set on my desk because I know that I'm going to use them. I just use them all the time, which is why I've called them essentials and must-have. So as you watch tonight, you'll see that the adhesives, for example, I don't just stick to one, I use several depending on what I'm trying to do. So they're a great toolkit to have, and with the holidays coming up, they're a great tool gift to give as well. Also want to remind everybody, the paper pumpkin, the Peaceful Christmas Paper Pumpkin has closed. The last day you could order that was the 10th. Mine is in picking right now, which means I should have mine in the next week. If I get it in time, next week will be the alternative ideas video, where I give you about 3 ideas outside of what Stampin' Up! Has provided with the kit. Now, if you are interested in the next kit, I thought I had a flyer printed out and I forgot to print it, but the next one looks absolutely adorable. It is little treat boxes that come with food safe cello bags to put in them. You can make 9 of these little treat boxes. They're so cute. We know that one of the styles is little snowmen, and we know there's 3 styles, but we don't know yet what the other 2 styles are going to be. If you're interested in that, and of course, why wouldn't you be? You can go to my website and you can subscribe for Paper Pumpkin. You can try it out for just 1 month. Or if you sign up for a subscription of 3, 6, or 12 months, you get a little bit of a price break when you do that. But you also join my Paper Pumpkin Club. With my Paper Pumpkin Club, I also send you a PDF every month with additional ideas of things you can do with your Paper Pumpkin Kit. And that is exclusive for my Paper Pumpkin Kit Club members. And all you have to do to be a club member is subscribe for 3, 6, or 12 months. If you're interested in placing an order to sign up for that, you can go to my website at heathersides.stampinup.net, and I ask that if your order is under $150, please use this host code. This is what allows me to keep providing these videos for free. It helps me restock my supplies as well as to earn prizes that I can give away on things like this. You know, Talina, I'm kind of curious to see what it is too. I'm a little burnt out maybe on the penguins, but polar bears is a great idea. I would love to see that. Anyway, if your order's over $150, please don't use this host code. If your order is over $150, you're going to earn some free rewards from Stampin' Up! And I want to make sure that you get them. So that's the deal with any orders. If you need a catalog, either our annual catalog or our mini catalog, let me know. I am happy to send them out to you. Just let me know what you need. Okay, and just a reminder, as always, I offer an incentive to bring your friends along. So if you invited somebody and that somebody is also in attendance at this live taping, or live video, then please let me know. Just drop me a message and say, I invited so-and-so, and then we'll have so-and-so reply, so-and-so invited me. Hey, Robin, how are you tonight? But once I see that you've both commented that you're here, I'll contact you for your address so I can send you your free gift. All right, everybody ready for the first card? This one, I'm trying not to do totally Christmas cards right now because, you know, that season is upon us and it's going to happen. But I don't want everybody to be burnt out on Christmas cards once Christmas arrives. So this first card we're going to make, let's see here, it goes this direction. And this one uses the All Squared Away stamp set and the Floral Squares dies. I used it last week in a different way, and tonight I thought I'll make the card using those as they're intended. So first we have a sheet, a half of a sheet of Coastal Cabana. It's 5.5 by 8.5, and it's simply scored at the 4 1/4 line, so it's in half. And let's see, where's my bone folder? Okay. So then, of course, I want to take my bone folder and crisp up that edge. And of course, I have to do it 100 times. Once probably is perfectly sufficient, but you know, if once is good, 100 times is probably better, right? Okay, then we have our envelope and our little piece for our envelope. We've got, oh, I forgot to cut a piece. I'll do that really quick. I need to cut out this piece. This is Flirty Flamingo, and it's just 4 by 5 1/4. So let me get that really quick. I can't believe I forgot to cut that out. And I usually pre-emboss everything too, but I guess tonight you're going to get to see how we emboss with the embossing folders. So let's see here. So this piece, like I said, is just 4 by 5 1/4. We'll emboss it here in just a minute. I also have a piece that is for the inside of the card, and it is also 4 by 5 1/4. I forgot to mention that this piece that is for our envelope flap, it is the Coastal Cabana from our Brights designer series paper. And it's got 2 different prints, one on each side, like all of our DSP does. And I also cut an extra strip that's going to go on the inside of our card. I cut out the dies. I cut out 4 of just this one, this little water lily. I think it's a water lily. Well, I guess, I don't know. It doesn't have the leaves like quite in the same way that a water lily would. So, you know, I don't know what it is then. But anyway, I cut out 4 of these in the Coastal Cabana. Then I cut out 4 of this little flower right here. I did 3 of them in Flirty Flamingo. And I did 1 in the Coastal Cabana. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that to make it set it apart a little bit from what we've got. And then, of course, I have some white baker's twine. So let's see here. First step, we're going to need to emboss that Flirty Flamingo piece. So let me grab my embossing tool. I always try to prep everything in advance, and I'm so proud of myself that I do. And then, you know, stuff like this happens. Oh well. You know, Robin, it is such a pretty color. There's another demo, I don't know if you've ever watched her. Her name is Dina Rico, and it's her favorite of the colors. And she always says it's the color that lets us know God loves us, which I think is hysterical. Okay, so I have my Tasteful Textile embossing folder, which I use a lot. You've seen me use it. It's just so versatile because it doesn't have a particular style or design to it, so you can use it with just about anything. So the way you're going to use it is you have your embossing machine here. Let's see if I can center this a little bit so you can see a little better. It's awfully big here. What I'm going to do is I've taken all of the plates off of it except for this first one with the number 1 on it. And then I've grabbed my embossing plate, the one with the number 4. I'm going to take my piece of Flirty Flamingo and I just put it inside the folder. I kind of try to be straight with it, but another nice thing about this particular pattern is if it's not perfectly straight, it doesn't matter. I just set it on the platform, put on my plate number 4, and I'm going to roll it through. Now I'm going to move this guy out of the way. And out comes the embossing folder, and you've got your paper right here. And if you look really, really close, you can see that I got it a little bit crooked. But, you know, you really have to eyeball it to see that. So if you are if somebody's eyeballing your card that intensely, you don't want to send them a card anyway. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to let's do our envelope first. I always try to get my envelope done first. For the envelopes, I like to use my liquid glue. Let's see here. It does not take a lot. You've heard me say dot, dot, not a lot. Talina, your kids are the same ages as mine. Do you remember in preschool them being told dot, dot, not a lot? That was like 100 years ago. Okay, so now I'm just lifting up the flap. I'm going to put my piece of DSP right here. And you know, I've talked about other ways to decorate your envelopes. You can stamp them, you can stamp the front. There's so much you can do. But I learned this week, maybe it was last week, that Shelley Gardner, the founder, one of the co-founders of Stampin' Up, she says, never a naked envelope. So we don't want our poor little naked envelopes. We want to be a respectable envelope sender. Okay, so I'm just going to trim this off really quickly. And you know, if I go crazy and accidentally cut a little bit of the envelope, it really doesn't matter. It's only a tiny bit and nobody knows. And the same thing applies if a little bit of my DSP is sticking off the edges. Again, doesn't matter. I mean, I guess it kind of does if it's off the side edge like this, but if it's over the top, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we have our envelope done. Set that out of the way. Now we've got our card. Let's do the inside of the card first. What I'm going to do, this is really pretty simple. I am going to first stamp my message, and the reason you want to do that is because if you get it crooked or you know just some weird thing happens, you can flip it over and do it on the other side. And if you do something to mess it up again, you get another piece of paper. But if you've already stuck it down onto your card, it's a little harder to do that. It's possible, but it is a little harder. So I've chosen the sentiment, the best thing about today is you, and we're going to stamp it in Flirty Flamingo. Maybe I'm lying. We're going to stamp it in Coastal Cabana. Oh, I have my piercing mat that I like to use for stamping on. It just gives my stamps, especially if they're the photopolymer stamps, they need a little bit of extra cushion sometimes. The red rubber stamps already have that cushion, but I just stamp on this anyway, and I wrap it in copy paper so that I don't get ink all over it. Okay, there you go. And got my Simply Chamois. Should have gotten it a little bit wet before this, but that's okay. I love my Simply Chamois, and that comes in my must-have tool kit because, of course, you want to be able to clean off your stamps. I'm going to close my ink pad. Oh, I remember the cleanup song. No, it doesn't stick with them, does it? They go from cleanup to throw everything everywhere. Okay. Now I'm going to take my little strip of Coastal Cabana DSP. And I'm just going to put a little bit of my liquid glue on here. This is wide enough. I could probably use my Stampin' Seal, but I've just gotten used to using the liquid glue for this. So I'm going to stick it on here, and I think I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border at the bottom beneath it. So it's just like that. Then I'm going to take my scissors and trim it off. When I cut these pieces, I always cut them a little bit long because it drives me crazy when they're just a little bit too short. So I cut them long and then trim them. Okay, so there's the inside of our card. Let's go ahead and glue that puppy down. Never naked, good sentiment. Yes, I agree, Robin. Did any of you guys ever watch Arrested Development? And there was a character on there who they called him a never nude because he could never, it was a mental thing for him. He could never be totally naked. And that's what that made me think of, Robin. Some of the conversations we get going on my lives, I can't even explain where they come from. Okay, so get this guy in there. Talina, if your feed is behind what I'm doing, try going out and coming back in. Sometimes that fixes it. Okay, now we're going to take the piece that we embossed with the Tasteful textile embossing folder. We're going to glue it down. You know, sometimes my Seal Plus, which is what I use mostly for adhering down big pieces like this, with this particular embossed embossed paper, for some reason it doesn't like the Stamp and Seal. And I just started watching it actually, Talina. My kids had watched it and I had not, and they'd raved about it. So when I was looking for something to watch, I watched it. Okay, so anyway, you can see how my Stamp and Seal is just sticking so much to this paper, because of the texture of it, that it's pulling it apart. So what I do in that case is I just take a little bit of my tear and tape. I could use my liquid glue too if I chose, but I just put a little bit of tear and tape there. Take my bone folder, run that down. Then I take my Take Your Pick tool. Both the bone folder and the Take Your Pick tool are in my must-have toolkit. Now we're gonna, oh, I need a little piece of adhesive down here. I wonder if it's gonna let me or if it's gonna pull it up. Oh, it did. Okay, so now let's line it up here. Remember that when you do use that tear and tape, it is pretty unforgiving. So once you lay it down, it's there for good. So be sure that you know that where you're laying it is where you want it, because you're committed. If you have commitment issues, tear and tape may not be the best thing for you. By the way, tear and tape is in my Adhesive Essentials kit. Okay, now my computer's telling me it wants to update right now, and I'm going to tell it, no, you can wait. Oh, okay. Now, I've got my 4 little frames that I embossed. Before we put them on here, I'm going to show you what I did with the flowers. On 3 of them, oh, they all slid under my little thing there. Okay, on 3 of them, I'm going to put the pink flower, or the Flirty Flamingo flower. These flowers, I noticed, do have a little bit of specific shape to them, so you need to pay attention to how you're putting them on the frame, because you want the flowers to match up correctly. I'm just going to use a teeny bit of glue here, but you could use glue dots too. But I'm just putting a little bit of, or I'm trying to put a little bit of glue. I think I have a little glue booger in there. Robin, you know what else I have? I have a product called Undo, which is not a Stampin' Up! Product. I just buy it on Amazon, and it releases adhesive so well, and you think it's going to ruin your piece of paper because it gets it all wet and oily, but it dries quickly, and then you're good to go to reseal it. Sometimes it leaves a little bit of residue behind, so you want to be careful about that, but usually that's only if something has been stuck down for a while. Okay, now I'm going to stick this on here. Whoops. Another nice thing about using the liquid glue is there's a little bit of wiggle room where before it dries, if you don't have it on there quite right, you can wiggle it around a little bit. Let's get this one going. Okay. Number 2. Hang on, I have to turn my space heater off. I'm always freezing cold, so I have my little space heater. But I tend to get warm while I'm doing my lives. Okay. Now, before I put down my Coastal Cabana flower, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Wink of Stella. And I have seen some really neat things lately done with Wink of Stella, so I hope to start using it a little bit more to show you some of those cool things that I've learned. But for now, this, I'm just taking it and brushing the Wink on there. So I'm painting it essentially. And you can't see it super well on the video, I don't think. But it's all nice and shiny. If you're familiar with Wink of Stella, you know what it looks like. Oh, you can see a little bit of that sparkle there. Now I'm going to glue it on. Wait, I lied. I almost lied to you guys. You got to keep me honest. I'm not going to glue this one down. I'm going to pop it up with a dimensional. And just one of our regular full-size dimensionals is perfect on here, but you do have to center it properly or you end up with a little bit of the white sticking out over off the edge. Hi Caroline, how are you? It's nice to see you. You know, I have not been outside, Robin. I don't know how cold it is. It's been rainy all day though. I'm in Washington. I'm in Spokane. What about you? Where are you at and what's your weather like? Okay, get this little baby on there. It is a little harder with the dimensional because you don't have that wiggle room. So what I recommend is kind of place it where you want it, but don't stick it down real tight until you know it's exactly where you want it so that you can wiggle it around if you need to. Did you see how quick I put the pink ones on and now this green one is giving me grief? Oh, Ohio, 70, that's not bad. Okay, so now I have all 4 of my little flowers and I'm going to line them up on my card. And all I did is I placed them, I kind of laid them down to figure out where I wanted them. But I want your guys' opinion on something and I'll show you here in a sec. So I'm going to lay them this way. Whoops. Okay, so this is the way I laid them out on my original card, with the green one kind of there at the bottom. Oh, this is lovely the way I've got it all cattywampus. Okay, so on my card you can see the green one is at the bottom with the little white bow. But I thought, what if I put the green one up here in this position with the little white bow? Maybe I should doctor it up a little first. Usually I do that kind of stuff last, but maybe I should do that first and then get an idea of how it would look. Let's do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is before I lay them down, also it gives you guys time to think about what you want. Oh, I have a friend that just moved to Cincinnati sometime earlier this year, I think it was. Okay, I am taking my Rhinestone Basic Jewels, and I wanted Flirty Flamingo, which we do not have. Or, you know, we don't have any rhinestones in that color. So what I did is I took my Flirty Flamingo, my dark Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blend marker, and I just colored them. And I think I used bigger ones. Let me see here. I may have to open a new pack. I do. I'm going to need one more. Okay. So I just took my Stampin' Blends and colored them. You want to leave them for a minute, let it dry, but because they're alcohol pens, they'll dry pretty quickly. In fact, by the time I get this package opened and get the other one that I need colored, those 3 will be ready to go. Okay. So we'll color that 4th one. I want that sort of medium size. Now, if you want to make them darker, let them dry a little bit, then go back and do your second layer of coloring. If you do it while it's wet, you basically are just going to wipe off the ink. So give it a chance before you go back in and do that second coat. Now I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. This is the end that has the putty in it, and it helps your adhesive, or not your adhesives, your embellishments to stick like that as you pick them up. And I'm just going to set them in the middle of each flower. Just like that. Oops, that one got a little crazy on me. Uh-oh. Looks like I wasn't totally dry yet and set that down. Okay, fine. I'll do another one. If you're going to be that way, I will do another one. If you're going to behave like that, you don't get to come to the party. As I've mentioned before, sometimes you just have to show it who's boss. And now we're going to put the last one, also Flirty Flamingo, on the green flower. Okay, you guys, you need to start cooperating. Okay, so, okay, looks like I got some Flirty Flamingo on the edge of my flower there, but I don't think it'll matter because the bow will probably come around and at the very least detract from it, but probably cover it up. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of baker's twine and just tie a small bow. I like to tie my bows and then just kind of fiddle with them a little bit, make sure they're the size I want and the direction I want, and again, show it who's boss. It's kind of twisted in there. I did see someone say they ironed their twine so it wasn't all twisty. That seems like a lot of work to me, but some people keep an iron in their craft room, so I guess it wouldn't be a huge thing to do. And I know that like Michael's, I think Michael's, you can buy little tiny crafting irons, so it's an option. Okay. And that's a little too big still. Just got to pull it a little bit smaller. Okay. We're going to stick it on there with a glue dot. So I've got my glue dots. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool again. And I'm actually just going to kind of roll it up a little so it makes a little, I've heard demonstrators call it a little log because it's kind of rolled up that way. And by doing that, then it fits on the stem there. Another advantage to doing this once it's already glued down on your card front, you don't have to be quite so precise about making sure it stays on that little stem, because if some overlaps, it's not a big deal. It's already stuck down and you're not sticking it to your mat, but it's all easy to work around. Oop. Okay. So now I'm going to stick my little bow on there. There. Okay, so let's take a look at this and decide where to place the green guy. Okay, this is how I did it on the first card. So this is sideways. That's kind of funny. Oh, I guess it goes that way. That makes sense. Does it? Or do you want that? Would you want that flower up? Okay, now that's bugging me, but I'm going to go this way just because that's where the eye wants to go with that bow. So if we put the green one there, and all the pink ones here, do we like it there, or do we like it better at the bottom? What do you guys think? I kind of think I like it at the top. What do you guys think? I know that the feed is a little bit behind what I've got. Am I even seeing the comments anymore? Let's see here. Oh, I hate it when you can't see your comments. I wonder if that's, whoa, whoa. Okay, now I see comments. Talina says she likes it better toward the top also. Do we have any other votes out there? I think we're going to go with the top. So, then that just makes it a little different. I liked both. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue these on. If I had been thinking, which I don't always do, I would have run these through my embosser or my cutting and embossing machine with some of our adhesive sheets on the back. It makes the die cuts turn into little stickers and makes it super easy to adhere them to your card. I did not do that. I really like to do it, especially with things that have such fine details like this. And then you just don't worry, you don't have to worry about getting glue everywhere. But it's still pretty easy to add your glue. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to glue down the first one up here in this corner. Okay. Now we'll do the bottom corner. Oh, we got another vote for the top from Kimber. Okay, let's see here. Ooh, we're not doing good for time tonight, you guys. I gotta hustle my buns here. Okay, so stick this guy down. When I'm using my liquid adhesive, a little tip is to kind of keep it on the paper like you're dragging it. You won't tend to use as much, and then you don't end up with glue spilling out everywhere. Okay, now let's see here. Stick this one down. I did get a little excess there, but that's okay, it'll dry. And it does dry clear, so not a big deal. Get this last one on. Okay. Okay. Now, this guy's not lined up quite right, but that's easy enough to fix. It's not totally dry yet, so I could lift it and still get it on there and just move it. All right, there we go, guys. Card number 1 is in the books. Got glue all over my fingers now. And the envelope to go with it. So there's card number 1. What do you think? All right, clearing up my mess a little bit so we can move on to the next one and create a whole new mess. Okay, so this next card I'm going to show you, if you were with me a few weeks ago, hey Tracy, how are you? A few weeks ago I showed a technique called the black ice technique. Well, those of you who know me well know that I'm totally a pink girl. I love everything pink, and I like Christmas cards that are in the non-traditional colors. Thanks, Talina. Thanks, Robin. So I decided to try adding some pink to my black ice technique, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I started with a piece of half a sheet of the polished pink cardstock. Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Tracy. This one is like the other standard cut. It's 5.5 by 8.5, and then folded in half, scored on at the 4 1/4 line. Take my bone folder, get a nice crisp edge, do it 100 times, like I said. Not that it makes a difference, but you feel better for having done it 100 times. Okay, now there's quite a few pieces to this one. I've got my envelope and a piece of the polished pink DSP so that we can do our envelope flap, which we'll do here in a moment. I have a piece of our basic black cardstock, a piece of our silver foil, and when you buy a pack of our silver foil, it comes in 3 different shades of silver. There's this one that's really shiny and it has kind of a little bit of a black tone to it. There's another one that's like super silvery shiny, and then one that is kind of has a little purple hue to it, and this technique works with any of them. I also have a tiny little 1/8 strip of the basic black. That's for the inside of our card. I have a little basic black flower and a little silver flower. I should show you what I'm using for this card, actually. I'm using the Bright Baubles stamp set. We're going to use this stamp right here and the Joy message. And then I'm using my pretty pillow box dies. If you haven't seen the little pillow boxes that this makes, they are so darn cute. Let me grab one. They just make these tiny little boxes. These are great for little, like one of those little candy bars you get at Halloween. There you can fill up some caramels. You can, whatever you want to put in them. They're kind of small, but they're like a great gift for your coworkers to put on their desk or whatever. And they open up like this, and you just put the stuff inside there. You can put a belly band on there. I also bought some magnets to try to put on the inside flap here and this flap so that the little magnets hold it together. So there's a few things you can do. And I have seen some videos. Okay, I'm not going to mess with that right now. I have seen some videos where they folded it in alternative places and turned it into a gift card holder. If you fold it where the die makes the crease lines, it is not big enough for a gift card, just so you know. Anyway, so these are the flowers that I punched out, or I cut out with the cutting and embossing machine. And then I've got the little tag here, and it also comes from this pretty pillow box set. Now on the original card, I did a black tag with the pink flower with silver on it, and I decided to swap it a little bit on this one just because I wanted to see how it would look. We're going to do a pink tag with a black flower instead. So let's get started. Oh, and then I have a piece of white for the inside. So first things first, and then there's also, I have some of our polished pink open weave ribbon. This is really nice ribbon. It's soft and lightweight, so it ties really well. It makes nice bows. First thing we're gonna do is put a little bit of glue on the envelope. Oh, I'm getting to the point that I need my reading glasses just to put glue on an envelope. How sad is that? Okay, this getting old thing, it's for the birds. Okay, now, one thing I want to point out about this particular cardstock is you can see that this one has lines and they go this way. I intentionally cut my paper because I want my lines to go up and down on the envelope flap. So when you have directional paper, make sure when you cut it that you're paying attention to which direction the paper is facing when you cut it, just to make sure you don't end up wasting paper that way. This would look nice with it going the other direction too if I'd done it incorrectly, so it's not a crisis, but let's see here. Now I'm going to cut it out. Okay. I'm so excited. If you have not seen this black ice technique, you guys, it's easy to do, but you do have to kind of play with it a little bit and get the feel for how heavy-handed you need to be. If you try it, you'll see what I mean, but it's not hard to do at all. Okay, so we have our envelope done. Let's do the inside of our card. All I did for the inside, make sure I'm not lying, let's take a peek at it. Okay, so I had a piece of white. What did I do with the white? Okay, we're gonna cut that real quick, hang on. I don't even have to cut it. I've got this little strip that I just had on off the side. So we'll use that. Flatten out my edges. Sometimes that little edge comes up when you cut it. Your blade does that, I don't know why. Okay, now I'm gonna take my Melon Mambo ink. Now I know that we're using the polished pink paper, but I found the Melon Mambo worked better with this technique because it's a little brighter and darker. And as you can see from the card, even though the ink is a darker color, it matches perfectly with the polished pink paper. So I'm going to take a little acrylic block. I am missing, here it is, an acrylic block. And we're going to use the stamp that looks like little snowflakes, I think is what they are. And I'm just going to stamp it all over this white strip. And just go all along there, as much or as little as you want. Okay, so that looks good. Clean off my stamp. Our ink does really well if you don't clean off your stamp right away and it dries a little bit. It's still not a problem to clean it off. I just tend to be a bit of a mess maker, and I lay down on things that have ink on them, and it's just not pretty. So I always clean mine right away, but it's not a huge deal if you wait. Now I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm going to glue down this strip onto the inside of my card. Okay. And then I have that little tiny black piece that's 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to use my liquid glue. Now what I could have done actually is use my Stampin' Seal Plus and put it on the white piece and then just laid both strips on that. I didn't think about that. Okay. And the glue goes in the shot glass. Okay, now trim off this edge. Do it from the back so I can see. With the white it's a little bit harder. Okay, and there is the inside of our card. You could put another message in there if you wanted to. Did I do that? No, I didn't. You could, or you can leave more room to write, whatever you want to do. You can see how my Stampin' Seal isn't lifting the paper. As I say that, it does it. That's nice. It doesn't happen as much with the regular paper as it was happening with that embossed piece that I had. Okay. We'll lift that release tape off. Okay. Let's stick this to the inside of our card, and then we can move the card out of the way for now. This technique can get a little messy, and I hope to be able to offer you a few tips that help make it a little less messy. I'm going to leave my ink pad open because I'm going to be using it. Okay, so the first step is you take black StazOn ink. Stampin' Up! Sells black ink in both StazOn and Memento. StazOn is intended for paper or surfaces that aren't quite as porous as regular cardstock, and it dries better. If you try to use the Memento on some of this on a less porous surface, it doesn't dry very well, and you can hit it with your heat embossing tool, and sometimes that'll dry it and sometimes it won't. I found it didn't work so well with this technique, so I used the StazOn. And what you're going to do is take your ink pad and you're just going to drag it down the paper like this. You don't want to do it too heavy-handed because you will leave streaks, but it's hard not to leave any streaks. I like to get, oh, did you see that? That's what I do. I do like that it gets that black around the edge like that. It just gives it a little bit more of a vintagey sort of look to it. I told you guys last week, I don't get ink all over myself like this, except for during my lives. Okay. Got my baby wipe, get some of that ink off. Wipe the rest on my pants. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp. This is the bauble that I've chosen to use. Now with a big stamp like this, it works easier if you take your ink pad to the stamp rather than normally how you would just go like that and ink it. It just gives you a little more control and you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, I'm out of control here. As I say, it gives you more control. Okay, just so you know, StazOn ink will stain your stamp. We have some cleaner that does clean it off, but if you don't care, like I don't, even though it stains your stamp, it doesn't make it so that black keeps coming off with everything that you stamp after it. Okay, you can barely see the ornament that I stamped there. Now part of it is because I was a little heavy-handed when I did the black dragging on my silver, but also it gets darker when we heat it, and we're going to heat it here in just a minute. And I don't know why it gets darker, because the funny thing is, which you'll see in a little bit, the pink, which is just our regular classic ink, it actually loses color when you heat it. I heated mine and completely lost all the color, so I learned that I had to not give it quite so much heat when I did this technique on pink. But we're going to use the black first. It's going to get noisy here for just a moment, so bear with me. And I'm just running this over it. The StazOn is probably dry already, but I like to do this because it just gives it that extra little shot to dry up a little bit. My paper is curling, not a big deal. As it cools, that's just the heat, and as it cools off again, it'll flatten back out. Okay, let's make sure it's dry, and it is. Now, when we used the black, we just dragged it along here. But what happens is I have found that you end up getting ink all over your hands. It's a huge mess, and you don't have the same amount of control. So what I did is I just got a piece of scratch paper and put my silver piece in there like that. Then I also got one of my blending brushes. I love these brushes. If you don't have these brushes yet, you need to get them. They are so soft and they are beautiful for trying to create really soft backgrounds, blended backgrounds, ombre backgrounds. They're really nice for that. So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm inking up my brush here, and I'm just going in circles over the black. Now, if you rub too heavy-handed, you'll rub that black right off. And I'll show you in a minute where you can see there are some spots that's what happened with mine. So don't be too, what I found was better to do several layers and just keep going back over it than to do it really hard trying to get a darker shade. And I'm just coloring this in. And of course this would work with any color. I'm sure you figured that out. But see, you can really see a difference there right now, the side that I've done and the side that I haven't. When you just drag the pad and you get it all over your fingers and you're trying to hold it in place, and it's really a pain, but by putting it in the paper like this, I can hold it still while I brush it, and I don't have to worry about taking a bunch of the ink off or getting it all on me. There are plenty other ways for me to get ink all over myself, and I typically find them. Okay. Hi Rachel, how are you tonight? Thanks for joining us. And just a reminder while I'm doing this, that if you are here because you were invited by a friend, or if you invited a friend, make sure you drop a comment letting me know that. And then I will turn around and contact you for your mailing information so that I can send you each a gift for showing up tonight. Okay. Now the thing is, this is not necessarily a one-shot thing. After I heat it, if I decide it's too light or if I heat it too long and get rid of all my pink, I can go over it again. Not a problem. So, move my ink pad out of the way. It's going to get a little bit loud again for a moment. All right, okay, what do we think? Does it need more pink or is that good? Let's see what I had before. I think I had less black last time. Let's go ahead and add a little more pink. There's never enough pink in my opinion. Ow. See, and I just grabbed my ink pad again. You guys bring this out in me. By the way, for any of you in the Spokane area, I will have details coming out soon, like the location and such, but on November 6th, I'm having a Christmas kickoff party, and we're gonna make 5 to 8, I haven't decided yet, it just depends on what I come up with, 5 to 8 different Christmas projects. There will be prizes and giveaways and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So I would love for you to join us. It will be a registered event, so you'll need to register ahead of time, which is why I hope to get the information out soon so people have time to register and I can order all the supplies for everybody to have an awesome kit. Okay, I think that's going to be all the pink I'm going to do because I don't want to keep you guys here all night. So I'm going to heat it again, just let it dry. Okay, now the trick to the black ice technique, because this is pretty cool, I love this, but what makes it really cool, what makes it look like black ice is heat embossing it with clear embossing powder. So what you do is you take your Versamark ink pad. If you have, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people have 2 Versamark pads. They have one that's dirty and gunky like this one is, and one that's clean and pristine that they like to use for their other stuff. So if you have a dirty, yucky one, I would say use this one, but it's not really a big deal. The only thing is it will get some black on your pad, but that black won't transfer, so you're fine. And you're just going to drag it over. kind of tricky. There we go. And so I've just drug it all the way down my card to get that emboss, or that Versamark ink. Versamark ink is what we use for embossing because it's sticky, and then our embossing powder sticks to it. So now I'm going to pour the embossing powder on. I know it looks very excessive and you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to use a whole thing of it. No, a whole bunch of it's going to come off and it will get reused. But I do use, because I'm covering such a big space, I do pour the whole thing on. It just makes it a little easier. And then I pour the extra back in. But I need to get the other end of this now. Okay. Shake it off just to get all that extra off. And pour it back into my little container. If that's a little too messy for you, I have seen people who will buy a couple containers of this and then they put them in like a little Tupperware container with a spoon and they just spoon it on, but they do it right there in the Tupperware container so that it just goes right back in versus having to pour it in like that. Okay, now we're going to heat it again. Watch the magic happen. You know that an area is done when it is no longer powdery and grainy and it gets shiny. Now, a lot of my pink is getting taken out by the heat. I probably should have added more, but that's okay. We've still got a little bit of a sheen of pink. And you can play with it to see how much you want on there, how much color you want in your background. Okay. And it looks like I've got all the powder melted. And that's, oh, it looks like there's a section in the middle that maybe didn't get melted real well. Okay, there we go. And that is how you create the black ice technique. On the camera, you can't really see the bauble quite as well as you can in real life, but it is lighter just due to the nature of everything that you're doing. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and stick this on. Isn't that a cool technique, you guys? I love it. Okay, and I'm going to stick my silver sheet, oops, got a little bit of adhesive sticking up there, just fold it over. And I like mounting it onto the black. It just gives it a little bit of a crisp edge with that black that we had there. Oh. I still have areas that need to be, that just aren't dry or aren't melted. There we go. Okay. I usually don't have to go back to it that many times, but I'm trying to hurry tonight, so maybe that's the problem. Okay, now I'm going to take my my polished pink ribbon. Gonna tie a little bow. And I do want this one to be a little bit bigger just because the bauble is bigger, but it doesn't have to be a giant bow. Well, maybe a little bit bigger than that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do before we glue this down is we're going to take our tag and we want to put it on. So let's go ahead and stamp our tag, get that done. Where did I put my, there it is. Okay, so what I want to do now is we're going to, again, use the Versamark. And I'm going to stamp with the Versamark because then I'm going to emboss the word joy in black, which I guess I don't want to open that yet. Okay, so I have my stamp. And I just did kind of an angle here. Close my ink pad. And then, where did I put my paper? There it is. Pour a little bit of that black on there. If you have a tiny little paintbrush, you can use it to get some of this extra, the extra little pieces off. They get staticky and they stick on there. Another thing that works well, and I was going to do it tonight and I forgot to grab one, is to rub it with a, before you stamp it, rub it with a dryer sheet. Okay. Now we're going to emboss this again really quick. It's tiny, so it won't take too long. This does get very, very hot, and sometimes these little pieces like to blow around because you can't hold them in place very well because your fingers are too close. If that's the case, just use a pair of tweezers, or you can use your, take your pick tool to hold it down. Okay, and so I got that embossed. Now we're going to take our little flowers. And I have this first one, and I'm just going to use my liquid glue again, put a little dots, maybe. Let's see here. Got a lot of glue on that, but okay. And then I just lined mine up. I did it so it was just offset from the other flower. Like that. And then take a glue dot. There's my glue dots. Really? I just had them. I even used them. Oh, right here. Okay. So take a little glue dot. Now with this, what you can do is just lay the flower right down there on your glue dot, press it in well, and then just peel it right off. Sometimes if you twist a little bit, it comes off a little easier. And we're just going to stick it right here on the corner. And I've got some silver ribbon, or not silver ribbon, but silver, what do they call it? Trim, I guess is what they call it. And I don't really need this much, but it's easier to tie the knot when you've got a little excess of the trim. So I've just tied that, and then I'm going to cut off the edges, the excess. And now I'm going to feed my bow through it. Now the reason I did it this way, where I feed the bow through it, is because then I can put a glue dot back there to glue down my bow on my paper, and I don't have to worry about the silver piece sliding off because I can glue it in place as well with that same glue dot. I think I might use 2 to tell you the truth, just because then I have a little bit wider coverage. I'm trying to do it just by laying it on there, but I may need to use my take your pick tool. It's so tiny that my fingers just get in the way. It looks like we accomplished that. So now I'm going to stick our bow right here up at the top of the bauble. You know, though, I want to hide this a little bit. There we go. There. And we'll trim the bow. Okay, that's not the best bow I ever tied, but there. And then what I did is I did take a Stampin' Dimensional and I put it on the back of my tag just because I wanted it to stay in place a little bit better. So I just put it at a little bit of an angle there. Oh, you got to take the backing off. Duh. Oh, but before I do that, let's put the rhinestones on there. I'm going to use the basic rhinestones. And I'm just using the small ones. Am I using the small or the mediums? Yeah, I'm using the small. And I'm putting them right in the center where you can see how there's the centers on the bauble there. Ah, another section that didn't melt. If you have never embossed before, please don't let this make you think that it's difficult. It's not. I'm just, for whatever reason, having issues tonight. So anyway, I am just putting the rhinestones right in the center of those little decorative parts on the ornament. I'm going to take the back off there. See where I want my tag. Like that. And I think I might put another glue dot on the back of my ribbon because it's kind of moving around a little and I don't want it to. Like I've said before, sometimes you just got to show it who's boss. Okay, now we're going to stick this onto our card. I am really having problems with this seal tonight. It's not a good representation of it, that's for sure. Part of it too is if you're a little heavy-handed and you press it too hard, it will do that. And I must just be extremely muscular today, or I have a lot of aggression built up. Okay, let's see, it wasn't totally centered, so let's try this again. There we go. So there is our card with our matching envelope. What do you think, guys? And we have the two. We have the black tag with the pink flower and the pink tag with the black flower. I think I'm partial to the black tag, but I do like them both. Oh, I guess they're kind of off camera. You can't see them both very well when I have the camera like this. So there you go. Now we'll put these away and get going on our last card. The last card goes pretty quick. Okay, so what I'm doing with this last card, I don't know what this technique is called. It has something to do with stripping, but I think calling it a stripping card implies that it's something entirely different. So I don't know, but I made this one for a challenge that my group did. Thank you, Tracy. Thanks, Robin. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this, but we're going to use different paper this time. We're going to do something a little different than what I did here. Let me show you. Last week I talked about a new set that's coming out. It's actually a pre-release for our next annual catalog, I think, but they're releasing it early. If you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, if you're on my team, whether you're just a discount shopper or actually building a business, does not matter. You can have access to this set, this bundle, this month. If you are not on my team, then you will be available. It will be available for you to purchase on November 2nd. So it's really pretty. Eden's Garden. It's got some neat little messages in here. My favorite one is, "My heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything." Had to get a drink there. My throat's going dry. And then there's some really amazing die cuts here, frames and a banner and like an edge piece. There's some really neat stuff in here. So we're going to use this along with its coordinating paper tonight. Again, a half a sheet of our Evening Evergreen cardstock. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 to fold it in half and make your standard card base. Then I also have, I have a sheet of soft succulent, and this piece is 4 by 5 1/4. I've got the piece for my envelope. By the way, the pieces for my envelope flaps are 2.5 by 6, and the Stampin' Up! They fit great on the Stampin' Up! Envelopes. Our envelopes, they're a nice high quality paper. They just feel good in your hands. You know that it's more than just something cheap that you bought off the internet. But if you do, originally when I started, I was just using cheap envelopes that I bought off of Amazon, and the measurement was still the same. Even though they had the more of a V fold here, 2.5 worked as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of my envelope flap, get that done. Gives it a chance to dry while we're making the rest of the card. And again, not a lot, but I am making sure to get close to the edge, not so close that it's all going to squeeze out when you put the paper on there, but close enough that you don't have the edges of the paper sticking up. There we go. Now I'm just going to trim it. Now this technique that I'm going to show you for this next card is great for when you have like a bunch of scraps left over and you're not quite sure what to do with them. In fact, that was the challenge with that original card that I made, that we had to make something using scraps that we had lying around. And you always have scraps, so this is a great way to use them up. Trim off that little bit of extra there. Okay, so envelope is done. Let's get rid of some of this garbage. Okay, now I have a sheet for the inside. I have a piece of white, basic white, that is 4 by 5 1/4. That's going to go on the inside. And usually I do try to make my insides first, but we're doing it a little different this time, and you'll see why. I have some gold twine. I have a piece of our gold foil. And then I have a piece of whisper white, or basic white. And this is going to be the base of our strip technique. It's actually not going to even show. So if you just want to use a scrap that you have lying around of any color, that would work. Then I also have these two little leaf sets that I die cut from the die cuts that I showed you, this one right here. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do green or gold or both, so I cut both of them and thought you could help me decide what we like. I have a little piece of white that I cut this little tag, and this tag actually came from the Pretty Pillow Box set that I used earlier. I like it. It's a nice. I like the size of it. Okay, so for this technique, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take all these little strips, and I just made them 3 1/4 by 6 inches. Again, they're just scraps, so you don't have to have any particular measurement to them. So, but I'll show you the patterns that I chose. I've got 2 of that pattern, 2 of this pattern, and 2 of this pattern. What we're going to do is take the trimmer. If you don't have a trimmer yet, by the way, the Stampin' Up! Trimmer is only $25, which is a great deal. It comes with both a scoring blade and a cutting blade. It locks in place so this hinge doesn't flap around when you're moving around with it. It's really a really nice trimmer if you don't have one yet. Well, even if you do have one, it's still a nice trimmer. Okay, so what I'm doing is I am just putting it in here at angles, at a little bit of an angle, and then I'm going to cut it. I'm not really doing anything precise. I want some to be a little bigger than others, some of my strips to maybe be wider than others, but there's no precision involved. Because again, you're just using scraps. So it only takes a minute to cut these out. And you could cut them by hand this way if you wanted as well. I could not hand cut a straight line if my life depended on it, so I just do it this way. Okay, now move the trimmer out of the way. That was kind of loud. And we're going to take the piece that I said is just our base for the strip technique. And what you're going to do is you're just going to lay the pieces on here. Now, normally what I would do is just kind of lay them down and figure out what order I want them and how I like them, and then I'd glue them down. But I want to save some time because we are running behind tonight. So I'm just going to start gluing them. So you just take your adhesive. I really like using the liquid glue for this technique because I can kind of wiggle the piece into place. And I am using my silicone mat to glue them. Adhesive doesn't stick to this, and this way I don't have to worry about getting adhesive on my table, but I also don't have to worry about it sticking to whatever's beneath it as I'm doing this. So let's see here, a little glue there. And all I'm doing is I'm lining them up, one right up against the next. Okay, and just from playing with this, I already knew that I like going in the same order all the way through. So I'll do this strip, then this strip, then this strip, or those patterns in that order, and I'll just keep repeating it. Some people, it's totally random, and theirs turn out looking really nice as well. So it's really up to you and what you like. And it only takes a minute or so to get everything glued down. There we go. You guys hanging in there? I know I'm running long tonight. I know, Talina, I've been really wanting to show it to you because I wanted you to try it. Talina said that she can't wait to try the black ice technique. Okay, I may have to cut a few more strips. It looks like it's not going to go all the way, but that's, you saw how quick and easy it is to add strips. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more, but that's okay. Okay, so let me just get that paper. I happen to have it still out. Got that one. That one. Oh. Okay. So just 3/4 of an inch is all you need. I mean, it can be smaller than that too if you like. We're going to cut this one. And I want to have a few extra pieces left over because of the way we're decorating the inside of the card. Oh, you know what? I am so silly. I think I might have, well, not quite. I didn't have quite enough to finish the front of my card, but that's okay. We're cutting them anyway. Who else is excited to try the black ice technique, you guys? And if you need the supplies to make it, I know where you can order it. Okay. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this, and I need one more piece that looks like this. We're going to glue that on. Okay, so that looks really attractive, right, guys? Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim off these pieces here. It's still a little wet and gluey, which can be kind of messy. So let that sit for a minute while we glue down the inside piece. So this is going to go on the inside, and I wanted to do something similar for the inside of the card. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure I do these in the same order. Let's see. I go green and white and then, okay. So take a piece, and one side of your piece will have a straight edge. Make sure that edge is up because you want this whole thing at the bottom to be straight on the bottom, not all crooked. And oops, there goes the shot glass. So I'm just gluing that guy down. Now I'm taking the next one. This paper is so beautiful, you guys. Whether you join my team and get it so that you can order it this month or wait until it's available to the general public on November 2nd, you have got to get this paper. It is so beautiful. Okay. Now we've got this last little strippy here. There. Now what you're going to do on both this piece and the front piece that we worked on is we're going to cut off the excess here. And you may end up getting glue all over your scissors, and if you do, just take rubbing alcohol, that'll get it off. Do this side. You end up with all these little pieces that have adhesive on them, have glue on them. Okay, you can see this is really easy and it's not incredibly time consuming either. I thought it would be really time consuming because of laying out each individual piece, but not, only if you want to get fussy about the order or, you know, how you put it down. But see how that looks? And again, you don't see that background white piece at all. If you have pieces that didn't have enough glue on them on these edges, like that one right there, now is the time. You can just add a little bit of glue. Just like that. Let's cut these pieces on this here. Get off. Little hitchhiker. Okay. So there we have on the inside, it's still a straight line, but you still have that pieced together pattern like you do on the front. So I'm going to take my little scraps that I have left over and move them out of the way. Now there's a little bit of glue here on my card, the inside piece. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to take my glue eraser, which I do include in my Essential Adhesives Kit. This is not a Stampin' Up! Product, so I get them and I put them in there for you. And once the glue has dried a little bit, you just go over it and it erases that adhesive right off of there. Okay, let's glue it to the inside of the card just so we don't have so many extra pieces floating around now. Now the last pieces of the card will go pretty quick. Oh, crooked, crooked, crooked. That's okay, I can fix it later. So there's the inside. What do you think? Now what we're going to do is we're going to mount these pieces. Let's do it kind of backwards here. This is the piece that we put together. Ugh. This roll of seal must be stickier than usual or something, because I'm really having trouble with this one. Okay, now I'm putting it on the gold background, and I just did this with 1/8 of an inch edge margin because I just wanted that little bit of gold peeking up. I'm a little bit crooked, so I'm going to fix it. Okay. Okay, you guys, I have to fix this or it's just gonna keep me up tonight. Isn't it funny, the little things that we get hung up on? Okay, there we go. Okay, well now it's, anyway, okay, so we have that edge. Now we're going to mount it on the soft succulent. And the cool thing about this technique is you can have it go landscape or, no, portrait or landscape, whichever you like the look of. If your paper pieces though are directional, which these are not, but if you have flowers or whatever that are directional, you want to make sure that you put them on the paper the direction you're going to want them to go on the card. Now I'm going to take my gold and I'm just going to wrap it around my card a couple times. I'm going to use my tear and tape to glue it in place. Lori, that's a good question. Hello, by the way. I didn't see that you joined us. No, it is not the brushed gold. I don't think so. Okay, so then I'm taking my tear and tape and just sticking it down there like a regular piece of tape. I'm going to wrap this around a couple times. Take another piece of tear and tape. This tear and tape is so useful to have. It's really nice to have it on hand, and it also is included in my Adhesive Essentials Kit. Okay, there we go. So now it's just kind of wrapped around the edge like that. And then I have a little one that I'm just going to tie a bow around. I'm feeding it under the two that are there. Oh, poo. By the way, I'm really excited to announce, I forgot to tell you guys, the larger group that I am a part of, our Love to Stamp group, started doing a thing a few months ago where you could apply to be what they call an artisan crafter, and you get to make special projects that you post on the team site for everybody to see, and you can use the special watermark on your own postings, and there's a special Pinterest board for them, and I got selected to be on that team this time around. It's a 3-month thing, so you'll get to see a lot more stuff coming from me, ideas that I've created for that. Thanks, Lori. Okay, so I tied my little bow there. It might have looked nice with a double bow. I don't know, it might have been, sometimes with the gold, a double bow is a little too much. Now what I'm going to do is take my, oh, I didn't grab my ink. Got my Evening Evergreen ink. And we're going to stamp message on here. And I'm using Sending Hugs. Again, it's from this Eden's Garden set. And I'm just going to do it kind of at an angle like that. Then what we're going to do is close the ink pad before I lay down in it. And we have our little leaves. And you guys need to help me decide here. I can do 2, where I've got one in the Evening Evergreen and one in the gold, like that. Maybe I put the evening evergreen on the outside there. Or we can do just one. I think if we just do one, I like the gold better, because keep in mind there's gold on the paper. But do you guys like one or two? I think I might kind of like two. Let's see here. If it was stuck down on here, that's how it's going to look. Selena says two. Any other votes out there? I'm kind of leaning toward two myself. So while you guys think about that, let's go ahead and put some dimensionals on the back of this. And then I like to use my Take Your Pick tool. Oh, thank you, Talina. There we go. And we're going to stick this down right about here, I think. Now, I think I'll just use my liquid glue. You could use glue dots to glue this little piece down, but I think I'm just going to use my glue. You don't want to put glue all the way up because it does go off the edge of that tag there. So ooh, slippery. And I think I might put a dimensional under that little glue green piece at the edge there. Just because it doesn't have a whole lot of adhesive on it. So I'm using my mini dimensionals here. And I'm just going to sneak it in. Okay. There. And, oh, and we still need to stick it down onto our card, don't we? That's easy. Ah. I don't know why I'm having this problem this time. Like I said, I think that for some reason this batch of it must just be extra sticky or something. Okay. Oh, make sure I have my card going the right direction. I have done that before where I put the front on upside down. Anybody else done that? I'm actually using the Seal Plus, Lori, but for some reason, this particular refill of it keeps tearing my paper, and I don't normally have that problem. Talina, tell Eric I said thank you for his input. Okay, so that's our card, guys. What do you think? The inside, and there we go. Just like the other one that I made, very similar, same color scheme, but different background paper, different twine. Oh, you know what we forgot? we forgot our little gems here. So I just want to add a few to the card just to give it a little something extra. There we go. That finishes it off. So let me clean up this mess. We'll take a look at everything we've made tonight, and then I will let you guys go, as if I've been holding you and you haven't been able to leave. Okay, so we have this strip technique that I did. Got a couple cards like that. Is that on the screen? Let's move this over a little bit. We have the black ice cards that we made. And then we have the ones that we did with the, what's that set called? All Squared Away. Wait a minute, it's called All Squared Away. Thank you. Okay, so that's what we made tonight. That's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me some thumbs up. That just helps with the algorithms that Facebook uses to keep my video out there. And if you share my video, I really appreciate that. That's how I get more, what's the word I'm looking for? I get more visibility, and that helps me to grow my business. So I appreciate that you do, if you do that. And finally, if you would like to place an order, if you go to my website, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. My website is heathersides.stampinup.net. And if your order's under $150, please use this host code. If it's over $150, don't use the host code, because those rewards should go to you. If you've got any questions, then go ahead and post them on here, and I'll be sure to check and answer them as best I can. You can also always message me on Facebook. And if you are not following my Facebook page, this is where you find it, facebook.com/stamphappenings. If you follow it, you'll know when there's live going on. So thanks for joining me. Have a great week, you guys. I will see you next week.